Thanks for joining us for Hobby Sauce today. Today I'm going to tell you how to play with friends you don't have, with armies you don't have, and lists you wouldn't normally show up to the table with, all online for any war game with Universal Battle. Let's get saucy.
Hobby Sauce.
Thanks so much for coming back. I found this cool program called Universal Battle, and I've used it for a while online, and I just wanted to share it with you guys because I run into a lot of situations where I post a picture from it or something, and someone's asking, what is that? What is that? And when I show it to them, they think it's amazingly cool, and I think it's amazingly cool. So what it is it's a client that you can use on your PC or even on your phone. You can use this to play people online. You can play anyone across the entire world, and the system is free to use. There is a subscription you can pay, and it gets you some better services that make it easier to use, but it just allows you to do so much more. So I don't know if you're like me, but in my area, I don't have a whole lot of people around me. You've seen Jose, and you've seen Brody, and that's the whole community. And if I want to play somebody else, I have to go maybe to Dallas or Austin, all of which are hours and hours away, and that's not something that I could just do all the time, but I play one of my friends, Tom Annis, who I'm going to have as a battle report later this week that I'll put in the description below. I played him last night on Universal Battle, and I've played people from the UK, I've played people that I would have never met in person, and it's just such a great, cool time doing that, and I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to do so. You can make any list you want, you can present battles and armies that you don't even have, and that's just ridiculously cool. So let me go ahead and show you on the computer what I'm talking about. Let's go.
Alright, so to get to Universal Battle to begin with, you just need to go to Universal Battle in Google or any sort of search engine. It's right here, Universal Battle 2 specifically. https://universalbattle2.com. And you can see this is the main site. You can play it in your browser. You can do that for the free version. I wouldn't recommend doing that for the paid version, which I'll get into in a minute. You can download for Mac, Windows, Android, and iOS. I haven't played it personally on the phone. I have a friend that does. He says sometimes it's a little fiddly, but that's only because of his screen size. It's not because the client is bad. Now, Universal Battle 2 is free to play. And you can play at your heart's content without paying anything. But if you want to save any functions or save your army, you do need to pay for it. It's not very much. I want to stress that it's not very much. I spent $30 for a year's subscription. You do have other options. You can get it for 6 months, 3 months, or 1 month. And they're less expensive each time. The $30 for the year is the most economical purchase. It does get more expensive per month, per unit of time on the other ones, but they're obviously less money to pay. You might want to do 1 month, see if you like it, and then get the year. But it's not very expensive. But let me go ahead and show you the client. So this is Universal 2. I already have it installed. And what do you look at that? We got a lot of people on right now. These are all games going on. Let's see if we have any Kings of War here. Ninth Age. Cock 3. Kings of War. There we go. There we go. That's a Kings of War game right there. And I could even go in there and look in and join. Like, what do you know? These guys are literally playing as we speak. It's loading up all their units. So this is kind of what it's going to look like, and I'll show you this in just a moment. We're in spectator mode now, but I'm going to go ahead and show you just the whole system. So let's exit the room. Alright, one of my favorite things about the lobby here is you can see the units that people have made lately. You can make some cool units in here. These are the people online, this is the settings, but let's go ahead and show you armies. So these are armies that I've created. I have ogres, goblins, brotherhood. This is some terrain that I've made. I think I started an undead and didn't finish it. Varangur, orcs. You can make these as complicated, as elaborate, or as simple as you want. I didn't really... You can tell I didn't put a lot of time into that one. But my ogres, some of my ogres units, I really did. So you come look at these siege breakers here. I've kind of put some trees and a wall in front of them with all these. I put some tattoos on this guy and colored it up a little bit. These are not the original colors that come with this, but these are some of the units that I've made. There's Grok Mackinac. I have the skulls down below him. My mammoth, I have some goblins on top of it with the ballista. I didn't have a mammoth, but the bull worked. But all of these you can just make. So if I were to make a new unit, this is that. I could mess with the width size if I wanted to. I can make it squared. I can make it round. And with round you can make it oval if you need to. But for squared, of course, that's what we're going to be looking at for Kings of War. You can base them all out in individual pieces and rank them up like you would for a Warhammer Fantasy Battle, or you can just make it all one big size like you would for Kings of War. But what you do when you have this, let me get back to a size where they'll show up normally. There we go. I just put a human out here. Now this human can be rotated, he can be, you know, expanded, smaller, whatever you want, and I also have a lot of options on this guy. So if I want to hit legs, you see I can rotate through and change a lot of legs. I've got 7 options. I've got 16 armor options. I've got 5 cloak options, 5 hair options, and 8 head options. And each one of these can be changed in color. So if I come over here and kind of mess with this, that'll change the color of the entire unit. But if I just want to make his legs blue, for instance, I can do that. You do kind of have to play with this because it's an RGB scale. It doesn't make sense immediately. But if you find the RGB color scheme you want, you can kind of play with it, and then you can make it desaturated or saturated, white or bright. So you have a lot of options to play with on here. We can make, I don't know, let's see, a purple pants man. I don't like that helmet. There we go. We'll make him bald. There we go. So we have this guy right here, right? And we can copy him. If I wanted to, I could hit duplicate. Now I have 2 of these guys. That's a good way to make a great unit. You can also have dwarves, elves, bugmen, goblins, ladies, skeletons, beasts, mutant rats. You got all sorts of options. And then you have animals. You could put them on if we wanted to make this guy maybe riding a deer. Why don't I pull you? I can, there's a way to make him come forward. There it is. Okay, so what if I want to make this guy ride a deer? I've got that, but you can't really ride a deer if it doesn't have a harness, right? So let's give him one of that. I don't like that harness, though. You'll notice that it says harness, and you think you only have one option, but you actually have a lot. Look at all that. You got all sorts of options. So I'm going to give him that, and we'll put that on top of this elk. It's not the right size, but you see you can make it a little bigger, and then push it down on the index. There we go. Now I've got that. Probably needs a saddle, too. So why don't we give him just that one little saddle? I saw there was just like a, yeah, I think that's it. Yep, perfect. So it's a little too big, but we'll just do that and then push it down. There we go. Now we got a guy on an elk. That's great, but he needs a weapon, right? So we'll go ahead and grab a spear. Spear is going to be good. Now that looks like we only have one option, but we've got all sorts of options, right? All right, let's give him some kind of like a druidy spear. Maybe that's not where it is. Maybe there's a better one. Oh, spear, straight up spear, not a halberd. All right, delete that. Yes. Bring that over. What do you know? So you have all these options that you can make. We'll put that in his hand. Pull it out a little bit. And what do you know? We've got a dude on a spear. A dude with a spear on an elk. I mean, you have the options are endless. You have all these different options that you can make to make all these characters. So that's kind of how you make all these, and you can rank them all up in a giant army so that you can pull the whole thing out at once. But that's how you make your armies. And then let's go ahead and go into the game itself. I'll make my own game. I'm going to hit create match. I'm going to name it Hobby Sauce. And I don't want anyone else coming in here right now, so I'm going to put a password on here. We'll say Matt is awesome. It's a great password. All right. So here's the main game. You saw it a minute ago when I went into that other person's game, but I'll show you through the options right now. So you have all these special tools that help you play. This is a measuring tool that you can expand and pull, so I can pull it out and it's 27 inches, and now it's 6.6 inches, you know. So you can use that to measure and find other things. There's also static measuring tools. This is a 12-inch tool. This is a 6-inch tool. And there's also ways to measure when you move the units, which I'll show you in a moment. Then you can get into terrain, and you have all these different terrain pieces that you can pick from. If I wanted a rock, I could just grab, well, here, let's see what this is. And then I could put that down, and maybe that's impassable terrain or something like that. Maybe I want a forest, you know, so I can click plants and grab that. Now I have a forest that's out on the field. So you have a lot of different options, and you can actually edit those like you would making an army. You saw when I pulled these out, I had terrain in here, and because it has this little tree on here, it treats it as terrain instead of a unit. So that's good. And then here you actually have the army. I've kind of already showed it to you, but these are all the units that I was showing you earlier, all the ogres that I've made. And if I wanted to bring out that mammoth, I just put it out. And there he is, and he's the right size as opposed to the board. I can maybe bring that out There's another group of chariots. You can bring them out individually, or you can also save them as a preset. So here are some of the presets that I have. For instance, this was my CCC list. Boom, what do you know? Now I have all of my ogres out all at once. That was the list that I brought, so you can save those. That's why you want the paid version. You can save these armies, you won't have to build them every time, and you also have the ability to save presets like that. Now, bringing out all these individual tools is kind of quick too. It kind of takes a while too, so why don't I just click on this. This is something I have called Match Start, and my Match Start has all the terrain out and everything like that too. So I can go ahead and lock the terrain, and once I lock the terrain, I can't click on it. Anything that had that little tree function, I can't click on, but I can still click on all the units, so that's really good. When you have an opponent on here, their units, you end up giving them permissions over here. If someone was in here, I'd have the ability to do it, but you can't use their units. Okay, you can click on their units to see what they are, but you can't actually move them. And I didn't mention this, but if I wanted to give, like, let's say these chariots had the Brew of Sharpness, I could say with Brew of Sharpness before I brought them out. And when I do that and place it, ta-da, chariots with Brew of Sharpness down there, as opposed to just chariots. So it does allow you to do stuff like that and give magic items to different units. You can also differentiate between different characters. If I go to my Brotherhood army, you'll see here I have red knights, but I also have green knights. And that just helps differentiate between items, and that was just the color change function. But here's my whole unit, and I could place them all out. For instance, I could take, let's get one of these 12-inch measuring tools, and I could bring that out here to see that, there we go, there's my deployment zone. And I might put some siege breakers here, and maybe another unit of siege breakers here, maybe some boomers behind them. Give him an inspiring source. Let's give him this flag guy right here. Couldn't find a flag, so I gave him a big bear pelt to put on top of a stick. That sounds like a good ogre banner to me anyway. You know, we're not going to need all of these, but let's say on the other side, we're looking at chariots, and we have some chariots coming down the way. All right, so let's say this is something that we're looking at is an actual game. We're about to run into these. Let's say it's the chariot's turn. The rest of these guys we don't need. What you can do is you can, once you start, of course, you've seen me move around. I can just move them anywhere I want. That's going to get kind of hard to do. But once you get started, you click on this XY button, and now they move on an axis only. You won't move your mouse like this, but you can see I'm moving them in a circle. Earlier, I would have been moving them in a circle. Now it's only a straight line. So what you would do is, let me get him back to where he was. There we go. All right, so I would just, pivot this guy. Let's say he's in charge range. I could check. I mean, I could check. Siege breakers have 10-inch charge. Ooh, just out. Well, let's say he is for the sake of this tutorial. All right, so he's in charge range. I just move it. So there's the pivot. There's the straight, and we know right away this is a legal charge because I have connected here before I've connected over here. And then, of course, you just pick up in place, and this you just do the best you can, but movement is not particularly difficult in Universal Battle. You get used to it very quickly. Another really cool function in here is if you click on this and then click on a unit, you can, one, see their arcs, so that makes it very easy to determine if something's in a flank or not. Let's see, let's say we had a chariot guy over here, and we had him on an iffy flank. Maybe he was going to come into this guy. Not sure if it's the front or the side. Well, we can see right there that is a flank, but it is just barely a flank. So that's something that's really, really cool to see and really helps. Also, these little circles that come out, that's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch. That means that anyone within the little blue circle right here is inspired. So you could see they were out there. Those boomers are just barely inspired, but there's not any arguing there. It's very, very clear to see. So there's a lot of really cool functions of Universal Battle, and all of it is just available for either free or a very minimal cost. One other thing I wanted to show you real quickly, this is the Kings of War Universal Battles page. If you go onto it and join it, you can see a lot of people that are interested in playing games. I haven't had a lot of posts on here lately, but every time I've posted on here, I'll let you know, I found a game within 30 minutes. So it's pretty easy to find people to play on Universal Battle, and of course, if you get your friends and family to get playing on there, there will be even more. But please join the Facebook page, Kings of War Universal Battles, and you can post in here, you know, if you're interested, anyone interested in a UB game, and you can just post in there and see if they're available. You can schedule events early, or you can just, you know, hope for a pickup game when you have that extra 3 hours of time that you didn't realize you had. Just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of the Facebook group, because it is really, really useful in finding people to play with you.
Great, so that's Universal Battle. It's a pretty cool program. I hope to see a lot of you guys on it soon, because we need more people on Universal Battle. You see a lot of people on there. You can play 40K, you can play 9th Age, you can play Kings of War, you can play Age of Sigmar, you can play pretty much any war game you want. But I want to see a lot of you guys on there for Kings of War. I want to play you guys. But until then, stay saucy.
Happy sauce!